Hey, welcome back. Time for some more Master of the Wind goodness. Alright, now where do we leave off here? I think... Oh, okay. So we're getting near the end of the arc. We're just before the concert sequence. And here you have the option of trying to find Violet to kind of assess the Emma situation. There's a lot of optional stuff you can do here, actually. I think at this point, Mark and I were sort of playing with the idea of side quests and side activities. But here you can find Violet. And Sod's dragging Bones along for his romantic, entanglements. And Violet sort of gives it to him. And he's kind of callous about it. It's like, oh, you really think so? She really likes me? But, oof. That's nasty. Yeah, he's really just being kind of nasty right now. He's just not in the mood for this sort of thing with all the other Equipment King business going on. So it might not have been smart for him to try and resolve this in the mood that he's in. And he's kind of pissed that so many people are calling him out. But, that's what happens when you've been acting like an asshole. Everybody's got moods like that, but his has been pretty intense ever since the Tortoise shop came under threat. And like I was saying last time, but I had to wrap it up kind of abruptly because we were running out of time. Or not time, but I had just hit a good spot to save the game. Oops, sorry. Sorry about that. Kind of lost the window for a second. So one of the optional things you can do here is go back to some of the previous locations from the first two arcs. And I can't quite remember where each thing is. How about this? Okay, so you don't want to do Fort Drake. So there's a thing back up here. I'm looking for the church right now. It used to be that we had a secret ending that was about Queen Ariana and the stuff that happened in the wars between Gallia and the Elven Kingdom. And it was a pretty good sequence. We had some nice Celtic music, and it had the three Lancers. It showed how they fought and died. Speaking of that, we're going to pay them a visit again soon. Yeah, here we go. This is the right place. This is the spot where she fights them in the flashback, believe it or not. But you had to visit every previous dungeon or something. You had to find a few items. But we took that out, so it was really only this to do. And this is the guy who had the romance with the elven girl back in the day, and now her ghost haunts this place. So Sod advises him to stick around till nightfall, which is probably the nicest thing he's done for a while. And of course that scene is, probably more powerful off screen. I've had a few people actually ask me, like, how come you never showed that reunion? I was like, well, I think what you imagine is more moving than whatever I might have come up with. But, it's kind of sweet that people care a lot about these tangential side characters and want to see them have a brief reunion. So this is the rematch with the three Lancers. Once again, it's completely optional. And a lot of people probably played the game all the way through without knowing you could do this. But, yeah, they just enjoyed the fight, so they want to test their luck again. And their stats are higher this time. So it is a challenge, even though I've, obviously leveled up quite a bit since the last time went up against them. Fuck. tend to take out Sophie first because she does like status effect things. Come on. Oh, and the holy attacks. Oh, shit. Oh, boy, I better not lose. That'd be embarrassing. Come on. There we go. There we go. One down. Still throwing out the damage, though. So this is the only extra fight there is, but if you went back to Fort Drake, you can find another excerpt of Ando's journal. And the Terra Mountains, there might be something too, and it's nothing like all that important, but there was something. I can't even remember. But I'm not going to be doing those in this playthrough, because like I said, that secret ending isn't in this version, so I don't really think there's anything to find. Ooh, these guys are beefy with hit points this time around. I'm eager to start talking about the concert, because it's, you know, that's such a popular sequence. But, you know, we want to get the goodies. Specifically, you get a new spear once you win this fight, which is always nice to have going into a big boss battle. But, you know, as most of you probably know, the voice of Daydream is not Nightwish, even though I was inspired by Nightwish a lot in coming up with the plot idea. Because, you know, as people who have listened to them will know, they have a female vocalist, or at least the female vocalist does most of the prominent vocals. Sometimes Marco, the bassist, sings as well, but we didn't have a female vocalist sprite, so it couldn't be Nightwish. So we picked a band called Master Plan. And I believe that they're a German band, or they were a German band, which means that this video is going to get all sorts of copyright things. So I'll probably have to attach another way to watch it. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, sorry, guys. I don't know how I turn that on. So I'll have to... It's probably going to cause copyright issues. And, you know, we were listening to Master Plan a lot around the time we worked on this stuff, and the song Spirit Never Dies, which you'll hear later, I remember Mark came up to me, and he was like, we gotta put this song in the game. And so I heard it, and I was like, yeah, you know, this is a great song, but I don't really know how to, like, you know, put it in the game without it just coming off as incredibly cheesy. I mean, you know, like, having it play as you fought, you know, Ketsu or whatever, that would have been ridiculous. So, but Mark was very insistent. Mark was really wanted that song in the game. And so I came up with the idea of having it performed in universe by a band. And, you know, that way, like, oh, okay, well, you know, if people think it's cheesy, well, then you can just write it off as like, oh, the band writes cheesy lyrics. So that was kind of, you know, and then I started coming up with the idea of what the band would be like and, you know, how they'd figure into the plot. So it was really that song that, you know, inspired the entire thing. Now that we've got a new spear, it is time. I'm sorry for the yawning again. I don't know, man. I just have not been sleeping well. Just keep getting up at like 4 or 5 if I'm not woken up by children earlier. Just keep getting up early. And in some ways it's nice because, you know, then you've got like the morning to yourself. You can do some things and you won't be interrupted. But downside is, of course, you know, you start getting worn down later in the day. I need some items real bad. I looked in the battle. I didn't have any ethers, which is a recipe for disaster. Alright. Yeah, I also wanted to check the armor shop. I can't remember if there's something I can make now. And you know what? I actually think I can't make that till after the fight. I think I get a special item. Alright, so let's go. Now, to design this this stage, we used a special tile set that was going around the RPG Maker community that was called the Master Exterior Tile Set, which means that it basically took like all the different visual elements of different tile sets and just put them in one, you know, one convenient big image that you could use. So you could have, you know, you could have like a snow-covered tree in the middle of the desert or whatever. You know, you could combine everything. And so we use that to make this stage, which is, I think, looks pretty good, really, considering that the RPG Maker visuals really were not like made for something like this at all. And I guess we'll just have to do a little hand wave and say that lightning magic is powering all these lights and instruments. So we'll just say that as they're playing, there's a lightning mage behind the stage just fucking shooting out all this power into the you know, machines. And there's Kovac and Vex selling Equipment King tchotchkes over in the back. And the music crystal capturing the sound. Did you see that? Meanwhile, Shroud and Stork are backstage, and they're about to be confronted by Finley. I can't let you ruin this concert. It's just too awesome. I don't think you heard me right. Yeah, a lot of people forget that you have a little fight against Finley here. It's not very serious. In fact, I think the game, the battler is even called Finster. Yep. And, you know, his attacks hit very hard. It's much better when he's in the party. And the funny thing is that this first song they're singing, Heroes, it kind of works for, you know, this point in Solus history, right? Because, you know, the new world needs heroes, the post-Gallia world. But, of course, Ursello dedicated it to Kovac, which is just beyond obnoxious. That's like, you know, it's a fucking, I don't know, what's a... It's hard to come up with a band everybody knows. Music is so niche-y now. I don't know, let's say if, like, fucking... Iron Maiden came out and dedicated their first song to Walmart. That'd be so lame. Especially if it was a song about, like, you know, heroism and such. If they dedicated the Number of the Beast to Walmart, then that would be an entirely different kind of message. And now we got the money shot right here, where the heroes have somehow got control of the lighting equipment and use it to stage a dramatic entrance. Here we go, baby. Oh, I tell you, man, I've seen this scene like hundreds of times. I still get a little rush. Just that, like, the song builds so well with this conversation. Oh, sorry, I'm just taking it in, man. And then I managed to time it so that he starts singing, you know, at the right time. And the angels take over for the rest of the band. Which is really pretty impressive, because they don't seem to have all the instruments. Like, I'm not sure, you know, I'm not sure the song has violin and trumpet parts. And that one angel with the drum must be a really good drummer if she can keep these beats on, like, one drum that she's hitting with a fucking paddle. Oh, I kid. I kid the angels. Alright, let's have some fun. Yeah, we'll do that first. And we'll use the Shadehorn Cow Pie. It hits everybody. So fight when you have like 5 enemies is ideal. Alright, now you always want to take out the, like I'm going to paralyze that angel, but you can, the one you really want to focus on is the trumpet one. Because she heals everyone. She can even bring them back to life, so you really want her just out of the picture. Now, it used to be, believe it or not, when you did this fight, it used to be that Ursello was the only original battler. And the 4 angels were all RTP battlers. In fact, that was kind of how it came up with the idea in the first place. Because you had these, you know, the RTP came with these angels and musical instruments, and I think most people looked at that and they were like, what the hell are we ever going to need that for? Why do I need like an angel with a violin in my game? But we knew we were having this this plot idea with music. And we were like, hey, you know, what if we use those angels? You know, they're all ready made, ready to go. And so we used them. And eventually, you know, when Enker was trying to complete as many battles as he could, he decided to do these over. And he actually did Ursello again. And the original was okay, but you know, it was good at the time. But like this one he made now is way better. And I remember him saying that he got sick of doing angel wings on battlers for this game. You know, for reasons which are clear much later. But just this sort of painstaking process of detailing feathers was something he was getting a little sick of by the time we got to Arc 7. And actually, if you think about it, it's kind of confusing that like characters with wings like that are so important to the narrative after this sequence, which really, you know, is not the same kind of angels. And I think there's a cutscene where somebody outlines the difference, just because I felt awkward about that. Because, you know, if all these rocket angels were as powerful as Dasani, these guys wouldn't have a fucking chance. As I lifted all, the world became too small. My conscience grew colder. It's so cheesy, but so good. They got the big fucking breakdown. The spirit takes me high, high. Yeah, I bet you didn't know you were getting karaoke. But yeah, it's just one of those songs. Man, I wonder if I could beat him right as the song ends. That'd be fucking awesome. It's almost over though. I don't know if I'm going to pull that off. Come on, use the spirit, you guys. The song's about you, even though Ursello's singing about himself. Come on, come on. Ah, shit. It's not gonna work. Come on, come on. And it's starting over again. Which is awkward, obviously. But that's something that really just can't be helped. Maybe I can at least get him before he starts singing again? Yes! Alright, look at all that good shit. And it just stops. Whoop! Just cuts the sound. Next time, summon some that are bulletproof. Ha! Pretty good zinger by our man Finley. But of course he's not happy about the Donner range weapon situation. He takes great pride. And now we have a pretty interesting thing, this scene here. I like it because it sort of goes against some of the expectations that you have. It shows the limit of Kovac's influence, where the guard, you know, has resists his influence here and puts Ursello in jail despite his protests. But at the same time, it becomes clear that the evidence they found doesn't really put them in any advantageous position. I mean, Ursello's not going to jail for his past crimes because Kovac got the people who dropped the charges. He's only in jail for public endangerment by summoning those angels and having them go crazy, and with a big crowd of people right there. But Shroud's still pretty bent out of shape over that whole thing. He hates the idea, and I think it's interesting to try and analyze why it bothers him so much. I mean, yeah, there's the justice thing, but is it really as simple as that? And I think when you've had a lot of shit dumped on you, like Saad has, just had a life that difficult, I think it's easy to give into bitterness and be resentful, on the occasions when somebody else is getting a break. Because I was very lucky of Ursello to have Kovac look out for him like that. So it's something that Saad figures won't ever happen to him. So I think that might be another reason why it pisses him off so much. He'll never admit it, of course, because for him it's all got to be about the justice and whatnot. But there's a lot of personal stuff going into that. Now we're reaching the last little story beat here, where Barry sort of randomly challenges Shroud and Stoic to a fight because he's so pissed off about their campaign against Equipment King. But of course, Barry, what could Barry do? He's not exactly a powerhouse. So they're going to attempt to talk some sense into him. No points for guessing how successful it ultimately is. But, his frustration is understandable. He was struggling when it was just his personal business, and then Equipment King bought him out, and he was excited about that. But now Shroud and Stoic are crapping on pretty much every public thing Equipment King does, whether it's the opening day or the concert. So Barry's a little pissed. He's looking for some justice. And of course, they're probably a little too condescending about it. I don't need your cynicism. Sagos, try realism. That's so harsh. He's a harsh dude. And, like I said before, people tend to assume he's me. Which is funny because it's well, why aren't I stoic? But, I don't know. It was sort of... It tends to be me and Saad. And maybe because I have Shroud as my avatar in most forums, that's probably informing a lot of it. But I really just like the look. That's about all the reasoning behind that. So how much am I like Shroud? I guess, I don't know, I believe a lot of the same things. I don't know, the Kovac thing doesn't bother me that much. The stuff with Ursello, I don't think, if it were me in the position, I don't think I would be raising a huge stink over it. I think, second chances are a good thing. But a lot of the shit Walmart does obviously bugs me a great deal. I can't stand how they treat their workers and all that. So, I definitely have similar contempt that Shroud has. But I think Shroud's age is important. He's 20 years old for this while this game takes place. And I think that sort of college age, a lot of people have this phase where they start to just get a better grasp of the world around them and basically how screwed up everything is. And that's so true. I mean, some people get that in high school, but usually in high school everybody's too busy like fucking thinking about themselves and whether or not they're popular. But college, it's a little different. At least if you go to a good one. So I think you can. I think people at that age are very prone to know-it-allism. I'm just inventing words. And it's easy to think you have all the answers at that age. But as you get older, you realize that things are way more complicated, and it's not that you give up on your ideas. It's just that I guess you have a better understanding of their limits. So I suppose what I'm getting at here is that I could have had moments where I was acting like Saab when I was his age, but by the time I started working on this game, I was already older, and obviously I'm much older now. So I don't feel like reading his dialogue is like looking in a mirror. It's just it's a personality. His personality I can recognize, but it's not. I don't really identify with it now. And I only did sometimes back then. Really, on the whole, I think I identify with Stoic more. Of course, that's just because I'm getting older and he's obviously like super old. But Arc 5 is much more personal to me than most of this stuff. Boy, wait till we get to that one, I'll tell you. We're going to have some interesting one-way conversations here. But that'll have to wait, because for now we got another pretty important scene. We're going to meet Gabriella, a major character who starts off as kind of a minor antagonist. And in this case, she gives Stoic a chance to reveal just how old he is, which you haven't heard yet. In fact, at this point in the game, you've heard very little about Stoic's past. And so he figures out pretty quick that Equipment King's behind this. They went out to the Sacred River Monastery and offered to hire a holy mage to take out Stoic. Here we go. So that would make it about 950 years ago. And she's like, what? So she's, that revelation's important. She later says that she was so blown away by that like she's distracted for the rest of their confrontation here. And this song playing right now is basically Stoic's theme. This sort of, I can't remember the name of it. It's from some anime. I can't remember the name of it. It was one of Mark's picks for the soundtrack. And it's a good theme for him, just that whole Zorro kind of vibe. But it's long is the only problem. Like, we're still in the intro and it's been like 2 minutes. So it's not like the Shroud theme where we have a bunch of different versions and you can use it as a leitmotif. Fuck. One of these days I'm going to look up how to say that just so I don't have to keep guessing both every time it comes up. But it's a bit hard with this song. I did once do like a cut and paste, a different version that started right at the main theme, so you wouldn't always have to listen to that long intro. And here's Gabby. Not much of a threat to Stoic, although she does have holy magic, so you can't be completely off your guard. Serious damage. Oh. Well, that was kind of a beatdown, actually. But, you know, for the sake of the story, I think that's it's appropriate. Stoic still having fun with her. Nice little trip down memory lane, little girl. So that's a fun scene. And then, part of what makes it effective is that the next scene strikes the total opposite tone. It's very ominous. I never quite got the timing of this cutscene right. You know, the ones where the game moves on its own. I did for most of the others, but this one, no, I can never... You'll see, Sparrow shows up like a couple seconds before the music picks up. I mean, it still works, you know, because the drum hit comes right as Sparrow appears back there, but could have been better. Now, whereas the Gabriella fight was a joke, this is pretty hard. Because their speed is about equal. And you just have to be careful that that Terra Firma move is an earth attack, so it hits them really hard, and if you... too many in a row will just wipe you out, so you have to heal yourself pretty often, and Shroud doesn't always go first, that's the kicker. So it's possible to take 2 hits before you have a chance to do anything about it. And of course we have this awesome Apocalyptica song in the background. We decided pretty early on that the Sparrow music was going to be Apocalyptica. It just had this vibe that we thought was perfect. Sort of intense. You could use it for an intense fight, but you could also, you know, have it be very ominous. And really, as the game goes on, when you see Apocalyptica music used for more and more things. I mean, Solic's theme is by them, and Ketsu's theme, and most of the fights with the hand operatives. They really are one of the most well-represented artists in this game. Alright, so I beat Sparrow, sort of. So, the inspiration for Sparrow's look was the Hobgoblin. And I think you have to be pretty well versed in Spider-Man mythology to know who he is. Most people know the Green Goblin because that's the one who killed Gwen Stacy and tends to show up in the movies. Generally has a more personal connection to Peter Parker. But I always liked the Hobgoblin better. It just had a cool color scheme, orange and blue. As you can see, we had the Sparrow it has the orange look. But what was great about the Hobgoblin was that the comics back then, when he was introduced, wove such a good mystery about who the Hobgoblin was, and just all these subtle hints, and you know, you can reread it and pick up on things, and you're like, oh. And it was just awesome. I mean, you know, like a lot of comic book stories, it got dragged out too long and started to get a little shitty later when different writers took over. But for a while, Roger Stern was just rocking that Hobgoblin stuff. So I always wanted to have a villain with a mystery like that. Like, who is the Sparrow? I really hoped that that it would get people's attention. They'd be eager to speculate. And for the most part, they were. Even after this arc here, where Sparrow only shows up once towards the end, we had people kind of weighing potential suspects back and forth. And I wish I could have saved those posts. I mean, because a lot of those, some of them are on forums that don't exist anymore. But it was really cool to see the suspects people came up with. Because, you know, the game points you towards a few, but, you know, sometimes players make their own leaps. And now we're in the final scene here. Made it to the end of Arc 2, where we meet another important character, Mr. Solik, top-notch necromancer, here to work with the hand for a very specific purpose, but not totally revealed in this initial conversation, because that's no fun. You gotta have the mystery. And in keeping with the tradition of Warcraft characters, Solik was, I believe, Mark's character. And just like Morius was my character. Oh, and there's Rana. One more shock for the road. Alright, next time we'll start Arc 3. I'll see you guys later.